I have a confession to make. I'm the oldest of four. I have two younger brothers and a younger sister. And I did some fucked up shit to my brothers and sister. And me and the oldest younger brother, we did some pretty fucked up shit to the sister and the youngest brother. And me and the oldest younger brother and the younger sister, we did some really, really, really fucked up shit to the youngest one. But for as much as we did, we weren't anywhere close to as bad as what happened to the subject of today's story. The Bible talks about a younger brother. His name was Joseph. Joseph was the youngest of all of his brothers, but somehow he managed to be his father's favorite. The Bible says Joseph was his favorite, so much so that Dad bought him a special multicolored jacket. Strutting around wearing his multicolored jacket. Hey, go look at me, guys. How do you like my multicolored jacket? And I'm thinking to myself, that's a very odd gift to buy the youngest son, because they didn't have the textile industry back like we have today, where you can just mass produce a bunch of stuff in China and have it shipped over to Walmart. No, you actually had to buy and pay for all the coloring. To buy a multicolored jacket would have been ridiculously expensive. Why would you do that? That's always bothered me. You know, I've pondered it, and I don't understand. Until recently, there was a special development, a technological advancement in archaeological recreation. And in fact, what you're about to see, this is actually actual footage of Joseph when he was a child. And I think it'll be a little bit of this.
1, 2, 3, 4. 是被制作的我，把压力跟着敌我，这是总理的 action， 别打比划总比输，被今天只爱我。
So now we get it. Joseph wasn't just wearing a multicolored jacket. He was wearing a rainbow jacket. That's right, you heard it here first, folks. Joseph was a Peter Puffer. So when we hear that he was Dad's favorite, what we actually now understand is that he was Dad's favorite. Yes. He was getting a little special loving from Dad, and all the other brothers were getting a little jealous about this. So they're like, you know what? Fuck this little kid. We're going to throw him in a ditch. So they pick him up, chunked him in the ditch. Like, that's no good. We got to come up with something better than that. I mean, eventually the rain's going to wash down the sides and he'll just scamper out, the little son of a bitch, in his little multicolored rainbow jacket. I got a better idea. One of them comes up with a brilliant idea. I wish I had thought of this when I was an older brother with my younger brothers and sister at the house. Let's sell the motherfucker into slavery. That is brilliant! Joseph sold into slavery, and he actually lucks out. You know, they carry him into town, and he gets picked up by this rich guy by the name of Potiphar. Potiphar says, this kid looks like he's got some skills, you know, cleans up fairly well. I'm going to let him work in my house. So he comes to work in the house. And unfortunately, Potiphar wasn't taking care of business in the bedroom. Potiphar's wife, as it turned out, was just not getting it. So she sees, here's Joseph, good-looking kid, you know, he's prancing around, doing his duties, and she's like, this new pool boy, he's pretty fucking hot. I'm going to go get me some of that. So, again, by the miracle of technology, we actually get to look in on what happens between Potiphar's wife and Joseph.
What did you say?
Come here! He's so big!
I don't kiss girls.
Potiphar's wife was something of a diva. She had never been turned down before. She was used to getting all the dick she could handle. And from what I have heard, she could handle a whole bunch of dick. So when she got turned down, it hurt her feelings. You know, maybe she was getting old and she wasn't as attractive as she used to be. But it still made her mad. And so she goes to Potiphar and says, that new guy that you just hired, boy, he tried to force himself on me. You know, she didn't want to think that it was her, you know, so she wanted to get Joseph in trouble. She knew it wasn't true. Joseph knew it wasn't true. And Potiphar really didn't fucking care. You know, he just wanted to keep wife happy. Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So he has Joseph thrown into prison. Well, in prison, Joseph is bunking with these two guys that both of them, they knew each other from before. They both actually had worked in the king's household. Well, one of them, he was pretty fucked up. And the other guy, he was just, you know, he was in there for not paying some parking tickets or some shit like that. So, as it turned out, they both had dreams on the same night. And when they woke up the next morning over breakfast, they were talking about their dreams. Joseph was listening in. And so they said, what do you think, Joseph? What do you think that these dreams mean? Joseph listened, and he said to the guy that was already sentenced to death, he says, well, you're going to have your head chopped off. Well, clearly, he had already been sentenced to that, but you're going to have your head chopped off. Well, to the guy that had unpaid parking tickets, you know, he was just serving, you know, a couple of days on a bench warrant. So everybody knew he was getting out, but he says, you know, you're going to get out of jail and you're going to go back and work for the king. Well, didn't take too much to realize that that's exactly what was going to happen, and that's exactly what did happen. So the one guy gets his head chopped off, the other guy gets let out of jail, he goes back and gets his job back at the king's house. Well, one day, the king had a really fucked up dream. I mean, man, he wasn't sleeping. It was because he had eaten some bad mushrooms. But when he woke up, he called all his wise men. He said, I had the weirdest fucking dream. What do you think it's all about? Hell, we know. We don't fucking interpret dreams. We're just here for the free food. But, they couldn't tell him that. So they pondered, and they still couldn't give him a suitable explanation. Well, as it so happened, the dude who had been in jail with Joseph, he's passing by and he overhears that there's a dream to be interpreted. He remembers Joseph, and so he tells the king, he says, look, I knew this guy in jail. In fact, we have matching jailhouse tattoos. He was really good at interpreting dreams. You should have him come. So the king sends for Joseph and pulls him out of jail, and Joseph realizes his opportunity, and so he pulls something completely out of his ass, but it was good enough to convince the king. He was a good salesman. And so the king says, you know what, you're the sort of man I can trust. I'm going to put you in charge of my household. And he basically makes him chief of staff. Joseph does a good fucking job, doesn't screw anything up. And so as time progresses, things are starting to change. The food is starting to dwindle. Things are starting to turn a little shitty. And so the king doesn't want an uprising against him. He realizes that if people start blaming him, he's going to have his head chopped off because the people won't stand for starving. So he has this idea, I'm going to put a figurehead in there. I'm going to put Joseph in there so if the people riot, they chop off his fucking head instead of mine. Well, fortunately for Joseph, he was actually pretty good at this management shit, and the crops started turning out a little bit better, so things worked out pretty good. People started coming from all around to get some food from Joseph because he had planned and he had planted, and things were going good in this neighborhood. Well, as it turns out, Joseph's brothers were in a neighborhood that the crops just were not coming along very good. Everything was failing. They were starving to death. Well, they didn't realize that this is Joseph that they were talking about. They just heard that there was this dude that had food available for sale. So they journeyed all the way to the fucking capital of the land, and they're going to get themselves some food. So Joseph's brothers come rocking into Egypt. They need to come pick up some food. So they go to the warehouse, and Joseph was working, supervising the warehouse, selling the food to the people that were coming from surrounding countries. And he sees his brothers roll in, and he recognized them instantly. But what the brothers didn't recognize was that by this point in time, Joseph had become a hipster. And he actually grew himself one of those big, ridiculous fucking mustaches. So he's sitting there sporting this stupid mustache. And they don't recognize him. So they just line up, and he's thinking to himself, you know what? Fuck these guys. I'm going to fuck with them the way they fucked with me. Yeah, everything worked out fine for me, but I'm going to get those bitches back. So what he does is he comes up before them and he says, okay, I think y'all are spies. Y'all are some bad motherfuckers. You're here as spies. And so I'm going to throw your asses in jail. They're like, no, we're not spies. We're here to take care of our family. Our dad's sick. Everybody's at the house. They're relying on us. He says, well, I don't think that all of you represent your family. Who else is there? They're like, well, we got a kid brother, but, he's our dad's favorite because our other kid brother died. And so, he stayed back because if he got killed, our dad would just absolutely lose his fucking shit. So Joseph thinks about it for a second. He goes, look, y'all are going to fucking jail. Okay? You're spies. That's just all there is to it. But I'll believe your story if you send one of your servants, send him back to the house, and, tell them that the kid brother has to come here. If he comes here and can vouch for you and tell you the same story as you guys just said, well, then I might consider letting you out. So he throws him in jail. The servant goes running, comes back a couple of days later with the kid brother. The kid brother shows up, and Joseph's like, holy shit, that's my kid brother. He recognizes that they're telling the truth. And so he lets all these guys out of jail. And he tells the servants, okay, go ahead and take the money. Pack their shit up with a bunch of food. He goes, but I'm still pissed off at these guys. These guys pissed me the fuck off. So I'm going to get them back. So what he does is he has some silver from the castle thrown into their bags. And as soon as they leave, they're minding their own. They just got set up, right? This is like a cop planting drugs on you or something. These guys just got fucking set up, and they don't know it. So they're heading on back to their town, and they're carrying food, and they're pretty proud of themselves. Dad's going to be pleased. We can feed the family now. Well, Joseph sends some police officers after them. They come running up. They said, "Hey, you stole from the fucking king." They're like, "No, we didn't." Bullshit. So they start going through the bags. Well, here's the youngest one, okay? The youngest one is the one that has the silver in his bag. So they haul him back before Joseph, and Joseph decides he's going to fuck with these guys. He's like, "I'm going to throw y'all in fucking jail." They're like, no, don't throw us in fucking jail. "Oh yeah, I'm going to throw you in fucking jail. But, if you don't want to go to jail, you need to quack like a duck." So they're all quacking like a duck, acting like fucking retards. Everybody's laughing at him. He goes, "Now, I want you to, everybody punch each other in the nose and give each other bloody noses." So they're all fucking fighting just because, they're trying to get themselves out of trouble. They're trying to please the guy who's in charge of the food. They'll do whatever it takes. He goes, "Let's see what these fuckers are up to. Okay. All of you can leave except for the little brother. He's got to stay here." Well, as it turns out, these brothers have grown up a little bit. They realize that what they did to Joseph was pretty fucked up. They say, "Okay, how about you let our brother go and we'll all stay in jail because Dad really needs the little brother, because now he's, Dad's favorite. So we'll stay in place. Let the younger one go. That's all that matters to us." Well, at this point in time, Joseph is overwhelmed, as Peter Puffers tend to do. He is overwhelmed with emotions. Show tunes are playing in the back of his head. He wants to break out into an operatic score. This is exactly what he lives for, this moment. And he realizes that he can't fuck with his brothers anymore. He loves his family. So he says, "Hey guys, it's me!" Yanks off his hipster mustache. "It's me, fucking Joseph." They're like, "Holy shit, it's fucking Joseph." So he has his brothers, send for the dad. Dad comes up, moves into the house, puts him in the guest bedroom. Everything is cool. They all live happily ever after.